live on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. We have a full slate of NFL and once again NBA talk today. I hope everyone's day is going
Da-na-na,
well.
na-na-na.
Drew, how are we doing today?
We're doing great. I got out on the golf course at 6:45 this morning, done by 9. Got all the shopping done.
Yes,
Dinner is
sir.
being cooked as we podcast. It's a gloomy day outside. Great day to fire off some takes and piss off the comment section. That's what I'm here for.
Dude, that's all. Dude, that's why we're here. That's why we created the podcast, just to irritate people at this point. So full run slate. We have L'Jarius Sneed. We're going to talk about the NFL rule changes. Talk about Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott. Unfortunately, Dion being Dion, and then we have NFL stocks, buy or sell. We have draft rumors edition, and then we're gonna roll into the NBA stuff right after that. So, kicking it off, L'Jarius Sneed traded to the Tennessee Titans. The details of the deal is it's a third round pick for L'Jarius Sneed. I think this is obviously a great trade for the Tennessee Titans, who have been really aggressive in free agency, overhauling that offense, additions such as Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and then their center. So trying to beef up the offensive line a little bit, Lloyd Cushenberry. Then on top of that, they've already tried to add to their defense and their secondary. Chidobe Awuzie being added in the first wave of free agency, and then now bringing in a all-pro level corner in L'Jarius Sneed is bolstering it even further. And then right on the heels of that, we have a 4-year, $76.4 million deal being signed with the Titans. This ranks him as the sixth highest paid corner on a per year average, 19.1 million. And then the guarantees of $55 million is fourth highest. Drew, the L'Jarius Sneed trade, how do we feel about it on both sides, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans?
Isn't it a little crazy that they only got a third round pick for this guy?
When we were just talking about, do you get a first for him? Do you get a second? What do you get for L'Jarius Sneed? And especially when you look at the other level of corners have been traded in the past, and you get in first round picks or sometimes multiple first round picks. Uh, this feels like a bargain deal to get a third for a guy like this.
And I'm like pounding the table, like Brandon Ayuk's worth a first round. Brandon Ayuk was worth the first round pick. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Y'all can get L'Jarius Sneed for a third. The thing about it is the Chiefs couldn't do the deal. They weren't going to sign him to this extension.
Yep.
Good amount of money, I think, for him. It's one of those rare trades where everybody knew he was being traded. Maybe the fact that you had to give him top corner money deflated his value a little bit. But just some of these corners that have been traded, some of the talks out of the Broncos camp last year on what Patrick P2 was going to command if he was traded at the deadline, and then you kind of look at something like this and you're just like, a hell of a deal for the Titans. And I mean, the third round pick's nothing to scoff at. The Chiefs have needs all over the place, so it's not. Yeah. Chiefs have needs all over the place, even though they just won a Super Bowl. Fuck my life. I hate the Chiefs. So I think it's a good deal for both teams. I mean, we knew the Chiefs weren't going to keep him. Interesting landing spot for him with the Titans. Titans did a lot of good stuff this offseason, but they still got a massive question mark at quarterback. And obviously the departure of Derrick Henry is interesting for them also. So that the Titans are going to be an interesting team to keep our eyes on. I'm on the struggle bus so far. Titans are going to be an interesting team to keep our eyes on, just see what they do this season, because they got some major concerns, but they also filled some major holes. So,
yeah, the Indianapolis Colts were also reportedly interested in Sneed. They just could not get the deal done with that contract that was going to be done right on the heels of it. This feels like almost the same situation as like a T. Higgins thing. You could probably get a really high pick for T. Higgins, but the fact that he's going to want a deal as soon as he gets traded maybe is holding it back a little bit. And the Bengals don't want to just kind of give him away and I don't want to say give him away like L'Jarius Sneed was given away, but you still get a third round pick for him. But at the end of the day, we were talking about maybe a first round pick for L'Jarius Sneed, and he gets again given away for a third. When you look at the hole now for the Chiefs, obviously your star corner, your all pro corner is now I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Trent McDuffie. I can remember, dude. I did the same thing you did. I remembered Washington, and I couldn't remember his name. Addressing the cornerback position, you could do it in a handful of ways. If you look at the free agent pool that's still around, you have Akila Witherspoon, Xavier Howard, Steven Nelson. I feel like Steven Nelson isn't a super great fit, and even Witherspoon, just because of the slot position that they play, while Xavier is playing on the outside. And then if you look at the draft, Ennis Rakestraw, TJ Tampa, Cam Hart, depending on how far Kool-Aid falls, he might even be available at that point too. Or Nate Wiggins, even though the comment section disagrees with the Nate Wiggins dropping that low. You're going to be able to fill this hole somewhere. We very rarely see the Kansas City Chiefs even going to the cornerback position in the first round, though. Obviously, their all-pro corner was the last time they did that, but Snead, he was a late-round draft pick, and all these other guys are late-round draft picks. So do you see them turning towards the free agent market or the draft for their next corner?
I definitely don't see them spending the first round capital on it. I mean, if it's something they feel like they can, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on anything outside of really the top 100. So if there's something there that they think they can grab in rounds 4 and 5, sure. Obviously, we talked last week about Xavier Howard being a good landing spot for them. I think it's an interesting dynamic that the Chiefs could have paid Snead the contract, eaten some of the money, and then got probably a first round pick for him, right? Like it's something they could have done. I think it kind of just goes to show you NFL teams and not valuing these draft picks as much as they did in the past. You know, you see teams that are just willing to forfeit their draft picks over to try to go get these players now, which isn't something that happened prior to the Rams giving everything up for Ramsey and giving everything up for Matt Stafford and all that kind of stuff. So maybe to them, the cap space flexibility was way more important than getting a first versus a third. Especially, we hear a lot with these draft guys where they say, well, there was only 15 first rounders this year. We only had a first round grade on 15 guys. Yeah. Now there seems to be about 15 tackles and corners that are first round grades this year. So it does seem to be, but if you go down to the rest of that top 100 and you look at the tackles that are available in rounds 2 and 3, and you look at some of the wide receivers that are available in rounds 2 and 3, a third round pick this year, you might get a starter at the wide receiver position this year with a third round pick. So it's still a valuable pick for them, and it fills a need. So I don't hate it. I was surprised that he didn't command more because I thought he would.
And you look at what they need and what's available. I'm looking over at my phone right now at my big board, and I have 21 wide receivers in the top 100. I have 13 offensive tackles, and I have 14 corners. It just goes to show you. I mean, those are a couple of needs that they could draft with a third round pick, and you have, again, some of the most available guys. I mean, even if they want to go edge rusher, I have 12 edge rushers on my list as well. So again, a lot of availability it's a very deep class, and this is a good year to need any one of those positions. And Chiefs, they need some of those guys. So the third round pick can produce a quality starter in the future for sure.
Especially when you got a player like a TJ Tampa or a Max Melton that was talked about early on in the college season as, could this guy make it to the first round? And obviously they've fallen out a little bit. But when you're talking about guys that are in the 50 to 80 pick range, that's when teams really start going to look at fit and need versus BPA, best player available. And there's players that'll slide, you know. Of course, there's the players that go up they fly up the draft board every year. You know, I'm a big fan of the I'm gonna do it. The guard, what's his name for the Huskies? What's his name? I'm gonna look it up just so I can't start the podcast off like this. So I'm just gonna look up his name. But
the guard or the tackle who might be a guard.
It's UConn. It's not the Washington Huskies. Okay. Christian Haynes.
Oh, Christian Haynes. Yeah.
So
he's my number one guard. Yeah.
Sure. I'm a big fan of him, right? And I'm like, oh, could the Niners get this guy in the third round? It's like with Cole Strange a couple years ago, and the Patriots like, no, we're gonna take him. Like, all right, well, I wouldn't take him that high, but right. There's a lot of these guys that I start fixating. You know, I spend a lot of time drafting Christian McCaffrey's brother and Frank Gore's son, and Jerry Rice's son to the Niners for fun. But there's a lot of these guys that I start fixating on because we got a lot of third and fourth round picks. And I'm just like, yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. When in reality, they probably won't even be there. So there's a lot of talent in this draft. And if you're a casual, I'm a casual. Jacob's not really a casual. But if you're a casual and you don't do much research outside of like the top 60, top 70 guys, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to surprise you this football season with production and how good they are, because this is a really, really good draft in the top 100, 120.
Yeah, it really is. Especially those positions already named off on a little bit earlier. I'm a huge fan of, like, when I say like there's 12, 14, 15 tackles, right? What was it? 13 tackles. I'm like a huge fan of like 10 of those tackles. I mean, all the way down to like Kingsley Sumatia is my 10th tackle, but I really like Kingsley Sumatia. So we're talking about quality guys who I'm a big fan. I mean, the cornerback position, I think I have high esteem for everybody up to like TJ Tampa, and that's my 10th. He's my 10th corner. I have other guys higher on my list that might not be as high. Cam Hart, Jarian Jones, a couple of those guys who I have higher. Super high esteem for me, maybe not for other people, but good quality down the later board for positions that are needed in the NFL right now.
I keep track of all my mock drafts that I do on that PFF mock draft simulator, and there's a kid from Oregon. I think his first name is Kyrie
Jackson.
And Kyrie Jackson, yeah. And in my first mock draft that I did months ago, I had the 49ers getting him at like the end of the fourth, the beginning of the fifth, right? I saw a mock the other day where he went in the second, and I'm just like, fuck my life. Like this stuff, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the thing is the wide receivers that are coming out this year, and there's talent all over the place. And now you have originally there was 2 quarterbacks, and now we might see maybe even 5 in the first round. And probably 7 within the top 50. It's just an interesting time.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is we'll get into this, and I don't want to hijack the podcast with this discussion, but the Jaguars quarterback, he is on the clock. His time is on. He's on the clock this season, and he has to do something this season, or he's not going to be the Jaguars quarterback anymore. And then you're going to talk about every quarterback from that draft: Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, all gone. The 2022 draft, trash, right? Like, it's kind of funny. The only dude that came out of any of that was Brock Purdy. So it's just the quarterbacks are going to go. That's going to push other players down the board, and it's going to give certain teams willing to trade back very quality players. Whoever gets to engage with the Vikings and the Vikings moving up are going to get probably a quality tackle and a really good corner, or a quality tackle and a really good wide receiver. There's just a lot of teams are going to get better this year, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Moving on to some of the rule changes that we have for the upcoming NFL season. 2 of them in particular are kind of the hot topic right now. The NFL banning the hip drop tackle, and then the other one is the kickoff changes. Let's go ahead, Drew, and start it off with the hip drop tackle. This was Monday when the NFL owners voted at the annual league meetings to ban the swivel hip drop tackle. It's a technique that the league officials has deemed a great threat to player safety. Now, this is also on the other side of it. The NFLPA unanimously said, no, we don't want to ban this. This is deemed a threat to player safety. But what this screams to me is owners care about what? They really care about money. And when your star players are on the field, which is on the offensive side of the ball, when your star players are on the field, you're making more money. You're selling out games more. You are selling more jerseys, more merchandise. This is what matters to them. Now, they did bring up a couple things. So what I have here is league officials felt compelled to take measures to ban the tackle after observing 230 instances of the now illegal tackle during last season's games. That averaged out to roughly 1 occurrence per game, which was up roughly 65% from the 2022 season. NFL executive Jeff Miller said 15 tackles led to injuries that caused players to miss at least 1 game last season. Also notably, this is how Tony Pollard got hurt. a couple years ago in the playoffs. This is how Mark Andrews got hurt. So those are the ones like pop off immediately, front of the mind. Guys missing seasons or having surgeries because of it. Now, Drew, how do you feel about the hip drop thing? I know it's not a popular thing right now to pretty much anybody, but how do you feel about it?
I'm actually on the other side of this, and
Okay.
I'll explain why. This is the first rule change the NFL has made that is actually for the safety of the players, with nothing else behind it. So they've eliminated a lot of the big tackles across the middle, right? That was because they were getting the shit suit out of them by former players with the concussion thing, right?
Right.
That was all about to protect their money because they didn't want to lose billions of dollars in a settlement from a CTE and head trauma. And I'm not going to sit here, whether you believe in it or not, I don't care.
Mhm.
That the point of the reason why it happened is for the NFL owners to protect their money. All the stuff to protect the quarterbacks, it's because that's the most important player on the field. And I don't care which crazy family member of ours screams about how the days of the 70s were better. Nobody wants to see the third string quarterback. Like nobody wants to see Will Grier versus, well, somebody might, Jerry might want to see Trey Lance, but besides that,
bro.
yeah, I was trying to think of who our third string quarterback is. I can't even remember him. We took him from the Bengals last year and we re-signed him, but Brian Allen or Brandon Allen or something like that. Anyways, not Josh Dobbs. So nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that on Monday Night Football, right? That's to protect the investment in the game. This is the first rule that's really like, okay, they want to eliminate this broken ankle thing, right? And I totally get it. The reason why I'm not against it is because if you look at the statistics and you went into one season of them, right? If you go 3 years back, this play didn't ever happen, right? Somebody put it on film. Defenders realized it was an effective way to tackle, and it had an uptick of like 83% over the past 3 years. I think you mentioned 65% from 2022 to last year.
Yeah.
It's not something that's been around for 30 years. It's not something that's been around for 10 years. It's literally a technique that's exploded in the last 3 years, which means guys weren't doing it before. They can move forward without doing it now.
And then just to interject real quick, it also became popular because of they're looking to avoid using their helmets and the tackles to avoid concussions, and obviously the penalties that right on top of it, the targeting, the using the crown of your helmet, all that stuff. So it became popular in the past couple of years because of that as well. So I think they both kind of piggyback off each other in terms of popularity because of the injury stuff and the penalties, and because it's an effective way to get someone down pretty quickly, right? You're not having someone drag you around if you just drop their hips. Right.
I also saw that they're going to be a little more involved with the replays when it comes to the roughing the passer and the pass interference and all this stuff. So
yeah,
the thing about it, man, is these replays take way too fucking long. It's the same way in the NBA. You watch the play, you know right away what happened. Listen, you can hate the body weight rule. You can hate that the defensive tackle drops his body weight on the quarterback through the sack. You can hate it if you want. But the second it happens, we know it's a penalty or not. As a viewer on our couch, we know it's a viewer. You can hate the fact that the defender slaps the quarterback in the head when he's throwing and it's a penalty. I'm not trying to argue whether it's good that it's a penalty or not. But when it happens, we know it's a penalty. Let's make it quick. You got 756 cameras in the arena, the stadium. I counted them. 756. No, I didn't. You know right away if this stuff is happening. You know right away if it was a pass interference. You know right away what it was. Let's just have it. If the flag is called, the ref can go to the thing. It can be told in his ear. They could pick up the flag or they can continue on with the flag. It's the same thing with the turnovers. Every turnover now and every touchdown is reviewed by the league to make sure it's a touchdown, right? They don't even have to throw a challenge flag anymore. It's quick. It's quick. It's quick. If you're going to review the penalties, make it quick because the second we see it, we know if it's a penalty or not.
And within the 2 minutes anyways, it's being reviewed by upstairs at that point. So it's like, why don't we just kind of expedite that instead of the 2 minutes? Let's just have it always be immediately being reviewed every single time. So if there is a flag being thrown, we already know what, a challenge flag being thrown, we already know what the outcome's going to be. So
I can't even tell you how many challengeable plays there are in the NFL anymore anyway, because was it a catch? They're going to look at it. Was it a fumble? They're going to look at it. Was it an interception? They're going to look at it. Like they're kind of getting away from the challenge anyway, which is fine. I don't care one way or another. I just want to get it right. If there's a play that's made on the field, if the flag is thrown. Now, I'm not going to argue about the flags that aren't thrown. I'm not even going to go there because you could throw a flag on every play. But if
Yeah.
the flag is thrown, I want to make sure the penalty is correct. And if it's the body weight, get over it. If it's hitting the head, get over it. I just want to make sure it's right. If it's the rule, the letter of the law, just make sure it's right.
And that's what the NFL Players Association is worried about, is being able to correctly and consistently enforce this type of tackle in such a fast-paced game. So just for the technique upon the terms that the NFL put out, it's when you grab a runner with both hands/arms while attempting to make a tackle, you unweight himself, or he unweights himself by swiveling and dropping his hips and or lower body, and then lands on and traps the runner's legs at or below the knee. So I'll probably stick in a video somewhere around here on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably watching it right now at this moment. So the NFLPA is really just worried about the consistency and correctly calling it. I guess that's just all they're really worried about. They're not worried about much of anything else past that. So again, there's some disagreements between the owner stuff and the Players Association. I don't really stand one way or another. For me, it's just kind of, it is what it is. I kind of stand with you in terms of, even if you don't like the rule, the body weight thing, the hitting someone in the head, it is what it is, and it's going to be called. So it's like, you might not like it, but that's just the way the game is right now. Like, it's going to change from year to year to year to year to year, and things being added, taken out, adjusted. And that's just the rules. And that's just something that we're going to have to live with. I don't really care. It's just going to be, these professionals are going to have to find a way around it and change the way they tackle.
You know what I would do if I was the NFL the first couple of weeks of the season? If you throw the flag on the penalty on the play, I would make it an automatic ejection. Player's out. He's thrown out of the game. You want to know why? Because if you do that the first 4 weeks of the season, it'll eliminate itself immediately, right?
Yeah.
Like it'll immediately remedy itself. Because a player has to understand, a player has to make a decision. Oh shit, this guy just burned me. Okay, pass interference. It's now a 20-yard penalty instead of a 60-yard touchdown. I kind of like a little bit of that goes in, right? When the DB gets burnt and he like throws himself in and pulls the wide receiver down. So, okay, well, you know what? You just saved a touchdown. I'm cool with that. I don't want that type of variance in this penalty. I want it. If the NFL wants to get rid of it, then make it a disqualifiable play and the players will stop doing it.
Yeah.
And if the players don't like that, at the next CBA negotiations where the owners bend them over the table like they always do, they can bring it up. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't want to see. I'm so tired of people complaining about shit that's already happened. Like, we can go outside and scream at the sky if we want, but they passed the rules, so now let's adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the other change that happened, other major change, I should say, that happened is the NFL kickoff changes. 29 of the 32 owners voted in favor of the modification on Tuesday. It was yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday. It takes effect this coming season, a year only after 22% of the kickoffs in the 2023 season were returned. The modification calls for all players on the kicking team to line up at the receiving team's 40-yard line, while the receiving team lines 9 players up on its own 35. 2 men will line up downfield as returners. Once again, if you're on YouTube, I'm going to throw a picture in right now. You can see it. Just don't have a picture up right now at the very moment. The kickers will still kick from their own 35. The kickoff team defenders won't be permitted to move until the ball lands on the ground in the landing zone inside the receiving team's 20-yard line. You can think of it as basically like inside the red zone, essentially. If the ball lands short of the landing zone, the ball would be moved to the receiving team's 40, just as if a kickoff sailed out of bounds. The only drawback of the new format is it eliminates the element of surprise for an surprise onside kick. Now, if a team wishes to attempt an onside kick in the fourth quarter, it will declare such intentions, and teams will line up in the old formation and kick off. A couple of special teams coordinators have been working on this. John Fassel from Dallas, Richard Hightower from Chicago, Darren Rizzi from New Orleans have been working extensively for the past couple of years, ever since the XFL really implemented this, because this is where the inspiration's really being taken from. And not only are they working on it, but then they took advice from all 32 or the other 29 special team coordinators to really put this together and then presented it. And obviously 29 of the 32 owners passed it. How do you feel about this change? I'm really excited about it because I just want kickoffs to return to something that's consistent. 22% is not consistent. It's very much the opposite. I'm excited for it, but how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of rule changes in the past couple of years that have been really good. I mean, the PAT was a completely useless play. Bill Belichick pounded the table about making it more difficult, and it went from like a 99.8% success rate. Now it's like a 92% success rate. Still really successful,
Yeah.
but there was a missed PAT in the Super Bowl, so
Yeah.
it happens. I like the idea of the play. You know, they nerfed the kickoff because of the concussions. Now they found a way to bring it back in and make it exciting and still avoid the concussions. And I'm probably going to watch probably an hour worth of YouTube this week on the XFL and the kickoff just to kind of see the way it works so I can
Yeah.
understand what the benefit to it is or not. But to me, I think that it involves special teams. It makes it a little more dynamic. And now there may be a time where we're watching a Monday night football game, and next thing you know, Tyreek Hill is lined up in the backfield to return a kick. You know, you might
Yeah.
see a Debo Samuel back there to return a kick, but not only that, you might see Fred Warner and Talanoga Hufanga up there on as the blockers because getting the ball to the 35, the 40, the 42 is a way big difference than the 20 or the 25. So I just think it allows players to have it's just going to be exciting. That's what we
Yeah.
want. NFL is king. We want to make it more exciting. And frankly, there were 13 plays in the Super Bowl that did not matter. And the NFL doesn't want that. They want every play to matter. And I think they've taken a good step here. Now, it is a
Yeah.
1-year rule change, so they're going to work out the kinks, and if they have to adjust something next year. Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, was one of the guys that voted against it. He was asked at the Florida meetings why he voted against it, and he just said that he actually proposed that it be pushed till October for next year because he wanted to do a little more research on it. But it was almost a unanimous decision, and it's going to be exciting. How can you be mad about something that's exciting?
Absolutely. What you're seeing on screen right now is just looking at a couple of the XFL. This is for the returns for touchdown. So you see kind of how it's lined up at the moment, and it's going to be almost the exact type thing in terms of the formation that's being lined up. So I think it could be exciting. Again, I'm really excited for it. 22% is not consistent enough to make one of the most exciting things that can happen in football is a kickoff return for a touchdown. And really, it felt like that the special teams part of it was only really thought about special teams for punt returns. Oh, I hope he takes this one in for the house. And when someone takes it out of the back of the end zone, you get excited just because they're catching it and they're running from the back of the end zone. They're trying to run into the field instead of just letting it sail over their head and go out. So again, it's an actual football play. It's not just dead in the water because there's already too much dead time that goes on in football. So making this a little bit more consistent is something that I'm looking forward to.
I thought it was pretty funny that they announced the new rule, and then like 5 minutes later, Cordell Patterson signed a contract.
With the Steelers, right?
Yeah, there you go. Like, there's that.
Yeah, right. All right. I guess we have to have the discussion. Dak.
Are you before we get into that, are you surprised that you guys haven't signed Dobbins?
No. I'm more surprised if we sign anybody.
Are you disappointed that you haven't signed Dobbins?
Yeah, I would like to bring in someone else, and then I'd like to draft somebody. I want to bring in Dobbins. I want to draft someone.
Blake Corum.
Trey Benson. But
I know.
Yeah.
And it's going to be Brooks, just so you know. Like,
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I'm all in on the Trey Benson stuff. Who isn't all in is Jerry Jones. So Dak and Jerry Jones are having a little bit of a tumultuous relationship right now. And it's not been fun to read. So at the moment, Dak and the Dallas Cowboys have not reached a long-term deal. So his $55.455 million cap hit is going to weigh on our salary cap instead of it being settled like it was already supposed to be. And I thought it was already supposed to be. We're now playing this out. He's going to count towards $40.46 million against the cap in 2025. Jerry Jones is not shying away from the fact that he wants Dak to take a team-friendly deal, and this is all because he wants to be able to sign CD, he wants to be able to pay Micah, and he still wants to be able to pay a couple other guys on top of that, free agents and whatnot. He doesn't want to lock up all his money in a wide receiver, a quarterback, and an edge rusher. Congratulations. That's what every single team does. They lock up their money in a quarterback, a wide receiver, and an edge rusher, and they still sign other guys. Sorry. That's just how it is. I'm incredibly frustrated with Jerry Jones, not just for the fact of not getting a long-term deal with Dak. I'm frustrated with the fact that he is not supporting Dak in the way he should be. You are letting go of your left tackle. Your right tackle played like absolute shit last year. Literally one of the worst tackles in the league, bar none. Fuck Terrence Steele. Drew's heard so much about this in Snapchat throughout the entire football season. You have a all-pro right guard. You have an all-pro caliber left guard. You have nobody there at center now. And what now you want to come out and say, oh, well, Hoffman's going to be great. We really believe in him. Oh, TJ Bass, we really believe in him. Oh, all these guys, we really believe in him. Congratulations. Like, what have they done to actually prove that you believe in them? Because they did something in practice against the second team, the third team's like squad. Congratulations. I'm frustrated that you're not protecting him. You let go of Gallup, who needed to be released anyways. You got CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks and Jake Ferguson. Who's the third, though? Like, who's the third wide receiver? Jalen Tolbert? I mean, I guess, but we've had him on the roster for like 3 years now, and he hasn't done anything. Like, you haven't felt comfortable giving him a chance. You went out and got Brandon Cooks because you didn't feel comfortable with Jalen Tolbert being the third. So you got a different third.
Time.
You know, yeah, there's Turpin, but he's a special teamer, right? He's a guy who just returns punts and kicks, and I love Turpin, right? It's Turpin time every single time he touches the ball, and he wants to bring it out of the end zone, and I get excited. I love KaVontae Turpin. But there needs to be something else. And you let go of your running back, which, again, you should have let him go. You should have let him walk. You don't sign back Tony Pollard. But we have Rico Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn. Like, let's go. Cool.
Yeah.
We got to have a good draft, right? We're a historically good drafting team. We are. But last year doesn't bode confidence. Mozzie Smith. And we have a lot of holes, right? Our linebacker retires. We have our run stuff for defensive tackle walk away. We have an aging defensive end, while our other defensive end has his eye on wherever the hell Dan Quinn is. Our safeties walk away, and I'm really confused about what we're doing right now. This is supposed to be our all-in season. I'm not saying just pay every single free agent and then be dead in the water for the next couple of years if it doesn't work out, because chances are it's not going to work out. I'm just saying, help us out. Like, put something around Dak. Like, what has Jerry done to help Dak and help this team? Because you're setting up for failure. So you can pay him less money next year, or you don't pay him next money. You don't pay him next year at all. You don't give him money because you want to start Trey Lance instead. I don't know, man. I'm really frustrated with the Dak and the Jerry stuff. And you get me riled up every single time we talk about Jerry Jones at this point. I'm over it every single time. What's your unbiased thoughts and opinions about this, though?
My unbiased thoughts and opinions? My biased thoughts and opinions is I love it, bro. I love it. My unbiased thoughts and opinions is I absolutely hate it, because you are showing CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons right now that they're going to have to play massive hardball to get the extensions they deserve. Yeah. You see Brandon Ayuk chirping with emojis, money talks, bullshit walks. The 49ers are going to sign their guy. They always do. We sign our guys. Whether Nick Bosa has to hold out, whether we threaten Deebo Samuel to send him to NFL purgatory in New York to the Jets, we always get our guy. We're going to sign Brandon Ayuk, or we're going to trade him, right?
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is learning, oh shit, I'm going to have to chirp in the media. I'm going to have to hold out. Micah Parsons is learning, I'm going to have to chirp in the media, or I'm going to have to hold out.
Yeah. Drew, I think
frankly.
Oh, there we go. Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Where'd you lose me at?
I lost you at some of the hardball stuff and either signing Ayuk or trading him.
Yeah, so recap, the 49ers are going to get their guy. But now that the Cowboys guys are learning, they're going to have to play hardball. CeeDee Lamb's going to have to play hardball. Micah Parsons going to have to play hardball. And frankly, the fact that you guys didn't sign shit in the free agency period tells me that Jerry Jones knew this whole time that Dak was going to play on this cap hit. He knew the whole time they weren't going to get this deal done. He knew the whole time that he wasn't going to offer him the extension that Dak wanted because you guys didn't go out and sign anybody. If you knew that you were going to guarantee $100 million and lower that cap hit down to $20 million this year, you could have gone and gotten anybody. You could have gone and got your Patrick Queen. You could have gone and got Danielle Hunter. You could have gone and got anybody you wanted, but you didn't. You stole Eric Kendricks and you re-signed your long snapper, and that's about it. Because Jerry knew the whole time he wasn't going to pay his man. So, and this is not, for all you guys out there that are listening and you look at Dak and you look at this, this is not a Tua Tagovailoa situation. Tua is like a fifth of the quarterback that Dak Prescott is. And I love to smash on the Cowboys as much as anybody. The Cowboys are my favorite joke, right? Which is funny because you guys are fully supportive of me and the 49ers. I always find that funny that I turn around and smack you around with the Cowboys. But Dak is legit, guys. Like he was the MVP of the tier 2 class. He's elevated himself out of that. Yeah. And I don't know. I think that the problem is that at the end of the day, Jerry, all that truly matters to him, despite what he says, is his money and the money that football team makes him. And he's not going to compromise that. And people worship him for some weird ass reason. The Cowboys have more fans than anyone in the world for some weird ass reason. They haven't been relevant in 3 years. But all that matters is money. And he ain't going to compromise that by handing Dak the bag, apparently. Because this is like the third time they've done this to this dude. Franchise tag, extension. Oh, no, now you're not going to get another one. It's wild to me. I don't really. And this is why you don't trade for Trey Lance. This is why you don't trade for a top 3 pick and put him on your bench, because now the talking. And spoiler alert, Trey Lance is not a starting quarterback in the NFL, but there's still going to be talk. There's going to be talk all season. God forbid Dak comes out and has a game where he throws 4 picks. Chat. It's just not going to go away because Jerry made the decision to trade a 4th round pick for this guy that can't play football. And whatever. I hope it explodes. I hope it implodes. That'll make me happy. But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is you look at the fans too, the fans that I at least see on some of the Cowboys pages that I follow, Laws Nation, Defy Talks Cowboys, on Instagram, and I'm sure you can find them on Twitter, X, as well. But look in the comment section of guys like Defy, and you see the confusion, you see the frustration of Jerry, and that's all it is. Everyone's kind of over it, and everyone's always points the finger at Jerry alone. It's like, oh, well, Jerry this and Jerry that, and the drafting with Jerry and it's like you realize that his son does a lot of the player personnel stuff as well. Like he's super heavy handed in it. He's very, very, very much involved. So the cycle's not done. The cycle's going to continue, and it's going to go on and on and on and on until somehow, some way it gets broken with some superstar caliber player. We get a lucky break and everything falls together for us because I was talking to you earlier in the year, this past year, and I told you that I felt like this year was different. I felt like things were rolling well, and I felt like things were turning around, and the team felt different. The defense, the offense, everything was clicking. Everything felt right. Dak took a huge step. CeeDee's goddamn top 3, almost offensive player of the year. And now we're sitting here with this team with Tony Pollard walking away, Tyron Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Michael Gallup, Leighton Vander Esch, Jaron Curse, all these guys walking away or getting cut, and you go, what are we replacing them with? Congrats, we brought back a long snapper and we got a linebacker. We really did need a linebacker, but this is a bad draft to need a linebacker. A really bad draft to need a linebacker. Offensive tackle, sure, we do, but some guys don't want to take offensive tackle. We need offensive linemen, though, at the end of the day. So,
well, that's another disappointment. Also, the fact that you have a top 25 pick and you're going tackle. That's a disappointment in of itself. As good as the Cowboys offensive line has supposedly been and all the capital invested in it, and now here you are with all the talent out there, lockdown corners, speedy ass wide receivers, and you're like, well, we got to go tackle because it's a massive need for us. That's a super big disappointment also.
And I think what the Simpson too is the big mistake of paying Terrence Steele is coming off of an injury. Why did we not learn our lesson with Michael Gallup? And that's the thing with right tackles. We've been piecing right tackle together with like second tier, third tier guys who've played really well in systems. Terrence Steele, I mean, all the way back 2014, Doug Free. Like we've done well with the right tackle, just kind of piecing someone there and doing well enough and paying him. Hey, here's your second tier, second or third tier money. But we pay Terrence Steele all this goddamn money for what? Like 1.5 good seasons and coming off of an injury. And it's just like, dude, we didn't have to pay this guy. Like we could have stuck somebody else in there and been perfectly fine. Like
You know who you have to thank for this though?
who?
Brandon Carr.
Brandon Carr?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we blaming Brandon Carr? I mean, I know that we gave him huge money.
That's why Jerry don't sign free agents. Who was the other guy? Claiborne?
Oh no, we drafted Mo.
But didn't you trade a bunch of capital to trade up like super high to get him?
Oh, we took him 4th overall.
Yeah. That's why Jerry don't take no risks. Jerry just gonna do his thing, man. No matter how much I say we're all in, we're gonna take defensive tackle, offensive lineman, Mozzie.
Yep.
I mean it's funny how like you could ride out the Cowboys off season every year. But then how can you be mad because they're good every year? They're underachievers, but you guys have been in the, what I mean, do you want to be the Minnesota Vikings?
No, but let me when it comes to our free agency though, we usually are active in like a second tier type level. We bring in quality guys that next rate deals type thing, and they play quality contributions. We don't ever go after those first tier guys that are coming out. Obviously, like we already talked about. Go ahead and blame Brandon Carr or whoever you want to blame on that one. But this year we're not going after anybody. We had a couple of years where we would go after those second tier guys and they would play quality time. I'm trying to find.
Can I interest you in a very exciting Graham Barton or Amarius Mims?
I don't care about Graham Barton if he's going to play tackle. But if we're talking about Amarius Mims, he's my tackle 5, and I love Amarius Mims. We brought in like Jonathan Hankins, who was our run stopper. We brought in Dante Fowler, who played huge contributions down the stretch. We brought in a couple other guys. But we signed a couple other guys here and there, and they made big contributions for us, and it was nice. And we've done that the year before too. We signed J-Ron Curse, and I was like, that's a bad signing because he's one of the worst safeties in the league. And all of a sudden, he pops off for us, and he looks amazing. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm wrong. We got him on a really good deal, and he played the system really well. But we're not signing anybody. Eric Kendricks, we got one guy. So
I just think it's going to be a super bad look week 1 when you've moved Terrence Steele to left tackle. You got some guy lined up in the slot as wide receiver 3, and Dak's turning around to hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook. I just don't.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is amazing. He really is. And I know Cowboys fans love Brandon Cooks for some reason, even though he only balled out for, like 8 games last year. All of his production came from 8 games, but it just, it's tough. I mean, Trey Benson he's a beast, The other kid, he's a beast, but you can't rely on it. So it's just interesting.
Right.
It's just interesting.
I was just talking to my dad about this yesterday.
Maybe they'll trade for T. Higgins tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to him yesterday. Is like, I don't know how this team is going to fall into how I see their outlook until the draft is done, and I don't know how to see some of these players that they see it like a lot of potential in. I don't know how to see them until the draft is done. Because if you go out and you say, oh, we believe in Brett Hoffman and TJ Bass and then you go out and you draft an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds, it's like, okay, well, obviously you're bullshitting and you actually believe in like Jalen Tolbert instead. You're not drafting a wide receiver. Totally get it. My bad. You clearly don't believe in them. That's fine. But if you go out and draft a wide receiver, it's like, okay, well, you clearly believe in them a lot. I'm going to sit back and wait a little bit more and see how it actually plays out. But if you're setting Dak up for failure, you can go fuck yourself, because Dak doesn't deserve to be set up for failure at all with the adversity that he has already faced with injuries and scheme changes and how successful he was last year. And you don't want to pay him his fucking money. And so if you're setting up for failure, go fuck yourself, Jerry. That's all I got to say about it. At the end of the day, I mean, it's frustrating. But
is there a part of you at all that kind of wonders about signing this guy to a massive contract extension when he probably just had the best year of his career?
No.
Like, he probably won't be any better.
Maybe. I mean, this is the type of player that I thought Dak always was, even though the numbers weren't always there. A lot of people are going to say and point to not this past year, but the year before, being like, oh, well, look how bad he was. Like, well, that season's such an outlier. All the years before that, he's been a good player. And this is the player I've always thought Dak could be and is without the numbers and production. CeeDee Lamb taking a huge jump forward, and having some of the supporting cast around Dak has been super, super helpful for him, but also it's the system that he's put into. So I'm not too worried about it. I've always believed in Dak to this point, and even to this potential. This isn't something where I'm like, oh my God, like I did not see this coming from, I can admit when I'm wrong. I didn't see this coming from Micah Parsons. I didn't see this coming from Tyler Smith. I didn't see this coming from like these type of players that we draft. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. This is kind of fucking crazy. This is the type of player I think Dak is. At the end of the day, I always thought it. This is who I think he is. This is what I think he is. And I have no reservations. If Jerry tomorrow says, you know what, we're going to sign Dak to a massive extension, I'm going to go, good. Absolutely. You fucking should. And even if he plays a step down from where he played last year and you still sign him to a massive extension, I'm going to say, good, you fucking should. I have no reservations about signing Dak to any type of extension. And he's going to get a massive one regardless. So he could break his fucking ankle again and he's still going to get the money. That's where I sit.
Fair enough. I think everybody in the NFC got a lot better except for one team. And so I just don't see them improving upon their season last year.
Yeah. Unfortunately. So if you're a Cowboys fan,
the
like
Eagles, the Eagles reloaded in a big way. Now we can say whether or not that's going to help them. Some of the pieces are a weird fit, but Saquon Barkley is a legit piece, and Devontae Smith and AJ Brown and all this other stuff. So that's on paper. God, I mean, if you just put Dak on the Eagles with what they have, that would be fucking like, oh God, that would be no good for anybody.
If anybody's watching right now, we have some viewers on YouTube. If you're watching right now and you're curious about our free agency grades, check it out on the YouTube channel after the stream's done, along with mock drafts and a whole bunch of other content. But so if you're curious on what we think about some of the free agency in that first initial wave, it's all on the YouTube channel. Go ahead and go check that out.
And if you don't like Justin Fields, subscribe.
Oh, absolutely, bro. We're haters.
I'm not gonna bring him out, even though he's still here in studio with us again. But I got like 1,900 plays on that reel in like an hour when I posted it the other day. I was like, pretty whoa. Good. People are into the trash can Justin Fields comparison,
right? All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next subject. Deion being Deion, man. So I wanted to put Deion into last week's conversation, just about his initial talking about how Shedeur will not play in cold weather. He'll only be drafted to certain teams because of that. He grew up in Texas and he played in this season. And I was like, okay, we have a lot on the slate last week, especially with the mock draft 3.0. I can't quite fit it in there. And then Deion comes out and he puts even more stuff out there. I'm like, well, now I can't ignore it since he wants to be on the podcast so bad. Fine, Deion, we'll put you on. Deion has said that, quote, I know where I want them to go in terms talking about Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, cornerback one and quarterback one for the Colorado football team. I know where they want to go. It's certain cities that it's not going to happen. It's going to be in Eli. And if you are very young and you don't know what I'm talking about, or you are football casual and you're not sure what I'm talking about, in the 2004 draft, when Eli Manning was drafted, he was drafted to the San Diego Chargers, and he refused to play with them until there was a trade that happened, and that went to obviously the Giants, and that's where Eli is known from. So he says that Shedeur and Travis are going to pull an Eli Manning because they don't want to go to certain cities. So, or he doesn't want them to go to certain cities. So this is crazy to me, man. I mean, again, I wasn't going to put it on last week, but then he goes out and he says even more shit. Where do we sit with this Deion stuff? This is crazy, in my opinion.
I think he needs to shut the hell up, man. Like,
yeah,
Shedeur did not play well last year. Like,
yeah,
everybody jumped on the hype. We were up till midnight watching their overtime game, the beginning of the season, and then it fell off and it looked awful. You know, Travis is a baller. He's probably going to be a first, second round pick. You know what I mean? Shedeur, like, where would he be at this draft? The third or fourth round? Like, just the thing about it is you can't pull an Eli. Like, the contract is the contract. Like, Eli could have just completely refused to sign his contract. You know, like back in the day, you had to negotiate these contracts. Like, anyone remember Sam Bradford? It doesn't work that way anymore. Like, whatever spot you're drafted at, that's the money you get. There's a little bit of argument to be made on how much of it's guaranteed and how it's paid and all that stuff. But the contract is slated to the spot, and that is what it is. And frankly, Caleb Williams tried to pull this, and then if I was like, nah, that's not going to work, man. Like, it's not going to work that way. So I just think that he can make a lot of noise. His coaching job last year wasn't super impressive. I know everybody's predicting that he's going to do some crazy stuff for them this year, but if Shedeur comes out and has another season like he did this year, like where's your draft stock at anyway, man? Like, Deion, honestly, instead of popping off in the media, he should be recruiting some trench guys. Like, he should be getting some offensive linemen, some defensive linemen, because I don't care how many skill players you have. I don't care how good your quarterback is. If you don't have any defensive linemen, your team's going to continue to give up 50 points a game. And if you don't have any offensive linemen, Shedeur is going to continue to run for his life. And I actually like him as a player. I watched every single game the Buffaloes played last year.
Yeah,
I watched every single game. I like him as a player, but you're not in the realm for this to make sense. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know who's being a little weird right now? Marvin Harrison Jr. You want to know why? Because Marvin Harrison is a weird dude. He's a weird dude. He doesn't want to run. He doesn't want to run at his pro day. He doesn't want to run at the combine. He doesn't want to do any of this because he's already a top pick and whatever, and he's just listening to pops. That's cool. You're a top 5 pick, bro. I mean, you may drop now, unfortunately, because of the quarterbacks, but you're a top 10 pick for sure. You're wide receiver 1. Although I saw some speculation today with what Neighbors did at his pro day that maybe he's wide receiver 1, but to me, he's wide receiver 3. We've already covered that. You know what it is, man? I'm going to put it in the section of we're going to sort our videos on YouTube at some point, and we're going to have the eye roll section, and we're going to put Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders right next to Cam Newton. That's kind of like, we're talking about it because it's relevant. I just roll my eyes. Like, you're not pulling an Eli, man, especially if you're the second, third, or fourth round pick. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, and I looked at a consensus big board for 2025 NFL mock draft database just for the people who are listening. Shedeur Sanders is quarterback 3. Player 49 is currently what they have him at, and Travis Hunter is player 163. He's like corner 15 to 20. Who's
quarterback number 1? Quinn?
No, Quinn was even further than Shedeur. Quarterback 1.
That's crazy.
Curtis Roke and Cam Ward are quarterback 1 and 2.
Oh, Cam Ward. Yeah.
They peak at like 26 and 45.
Yeah, and the Shedeur being 3, that's just hype at that point.
Quinn.
We'll see. I mean, I think it'd be awesome. Like, I want him to ball out. I want him to be a top 10 pick. I want it all for him because I think it's awesome. These second generation stars, I think that all that shit is amazing. I'm here for it. I hope Shedeur plays so well that he can do an Eli. I hope for that because that's content for the podcast. I love it. But the whole reason why we did this podcast was so we could say some crazy shit and we would record it.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take. He's not going to be quarterback 1 at the end of the season. He may not even be a first round pick. And it's not going to matter unless you're a top 10 guy. Nobody cares about what you think. The NFL does not revolve around Deion Sanders. The NFL does not revolve around Caleb Williams and his camp. It just doesn't work that way. This isn't the NBA. We don't do the prima donna. We're going to demand where we play. No, you get drafted and you go play, or you're going to sit out a year. And that's fine if you want to do that too, but that hasn't happened.
All right, Drew, what do you say? Say right after we go through all the grades after the draft and after the off season, you say we put together maybe a end of May, beginning of June, and way too early 2025 mock. Do some summer scouting real
Absolutely.
quick.
Absolutely.
I'll have to put that together for sure. Man.
And just can I have the even picks on that one though?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I want to make the 49ers pick, and they'll be pick 32. So I want to make sure I get to pick their pick.
Oh, okay. I was expecting like maybe pick 2 or something, but yeah, that's fine too, I guess.
Nah. If we have pick number 2, I'm taking Shedeur Sanders and replacing Brock Purdy.
Hey, there's rumors that you guys are putting together a $300 million contract right now for an extension. So we'll see how that goes.
I saw that. We're also going to trade
You cut out.
Brandon and Ayuk away for his.
You're cutting a little bit, Drew.
That's disrespectful.
You said you're going to trade something.
I'm not losing you. Yeah, I said we're also trading Brandon Ayuk away for Zay Jones.
Yeah.
Here, I got it. 1 second. Since I'm cutting out, I got to take this. I'll be right back. Sorry.
You're good. For our viewers currently tuning in to Twitch and to YouTube, rest of the podcast, we have one more NFL segment. We have our third iteration of NFL stocks, buy or sell. So how this segment is going to go is I read out to Drew. He is going to buy or sell a certain stock, right? And if you don't know how stocks work, you either buy it and you hope that stock goes up and you think it's going to be true, or you sell it because you think it's going to be false. So it's basically true or false, buy or sell, but just makes a fun spin on it. I have a couple of things. Drew doesn't know this one yet. So the first thing we're going with is JJ McCarthy. It's all draft rumor stuff. We got JJ McCarthy. We're going to talk about Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix. We have talking about the Patriots very specifically, and then running backs. Where are the running backs going to be taken inside of this draft? So again, I read it off and I let Drew pick the buy or sell. Again, this is our third iteration of the buy or sell stocks. Go check it out on our YouTube. If you just search through our channel, it's NFL stocks buy or sell. We've done a couple of them. One was in the at the very end of the season. Another one was in the middle of the season, about week 10 or 11. One of the first videos that we actually did. So go check it out. Go see our opinions throughout the season. See how they've kind of changed and fluctuated up and down. If you are still on YouTube, I've posted a couple of videos very recently last week. Our mock draft 3.0. I know a lot of people are all hyped up for all the mock draft stuff. We have the mock draft 3.0. We have the top available free agents as of last week. We also have, let me go ahead and go through our videos real quick so you guys can know. We also have Aaron Donald retiring, giving our thoughts and opinions about that. Drew's a Niners fan, so he has a very unique perspective about Aaron Donald. And then talking about the Keenan Allen trade, the Justin Fields trade, and also the Kenny Pickett trade. Also, if you're a big fan of NBA content, go ahead and stick around because we have some NBA stuff at the tail end of our stream. Again, YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button. It helps us out. Go ahead and leave a comment too for the live stream. It boosts us up. And he is back. All right, Drew.
Hey, everybody like and subscribe and blow us up. That way I can quit my day job.
Same. All right, man. Are you ready for the third iteration of the NFL stocks buy or sell? This time around, it is NFL draft rumors. So I have 5 rumors, Drew, on the board. You go ahead and tell me whether you are going to buy this rumor or you are going to sell this rumor. First one, it's probably the hot one right now. We already mentioned it before the podcast. Are you buying or selling JJ McCarthy going second overall?
That's a sell. Second?
Second overall.
What the hell? No. Yep. Do you see what Jaden Daniels did at his pro day? No. JJ McCarthy's not going second overall.
Yeah, I think his odds jumped up to plus 400 after what he was plus 4,000. Right.
Hey, where's that idiot in the chat that wanted to know why we were taking JJ McCarthy in the first round? Where's he at?
Yeah. Right
Odds
now
to go
he's
second.
now jumping up all the way to the second overall pick. Yeah, no, this isn't happening, right? I mean, we do know that the draft is most likely going to start quarterback. That's the way it is. It might even start quarterback, depending on how you see the draft and if the Patriots are maybe sticking and picking, which is a good way to segue into it. Drew, buying or selling, the Patriots are sticking and picking at that third overall.
I don't know now at this point. I'm kind of curious as to this. I think it's going quarterback. I think the first 4 picks are quarterbacks. If you're the Patriots, if you're not taking quarterback, there's absolutely zero reason to stay there and pick. Zero reason. Because I like Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's not worth the 3 when you can if you can pick up 2 picks from the Vikings, or if you can pick up 3 picks from the Broncos to move up here, then you just take it. Like, Marvin Harrison's not changing anything for you next year if you can just drop down into the 20s and take one of the guys there. No offense to Marvin Harrison. He's wide receiver 1. I think he's going to be awesome. But to me, there's nobody there at 3 if you're not taking quarterback. Same with number 4.
Yeah.
If I'm the Cardinals and somebody's coming to you with a king's ransom to try to move up to 4, and what's crazy is the Broncos and the Vikings both love the same guy, reportedly. They're both going to try to jump each other, right? They're going to try to get to 6, try to get to 5, try to get to 4. But if I'm the Vikings and I trade into the 4 spot, you know what you got to do to get to the 3 spot if you're the Broncos. So they might trade into the 3. So what's crazy is they might battle it out for 3, and then Drake May falls to the 4th quarterback, which we're going to look back on this and be like, how did my man Drake May fall this far? Because the dude is talented. But we'll put that aside for a second. It's going to be very exciting. I think the Cardinals, they're going to offer you a king's ransom. You already got Kyler. And is Marvin Harrison really going to make that much of a difference in comparison if you can add a wide receiver and you can add a tackle, you can add a wide receiver and a corner? Like, are you telling me you wouldn't want a first round graded tackle and the 3rd or 4th or 5th best wide receiver in the class? Or would you just take wide receiver 1 and that's it? It comes down to at the beginning of the year, every NFL team has the same amount of money. We all have the same amount of money. We all have the amount of draft picks. We all have the same amount of everything. It just depends on who invests their assets in the most wisest way. And for you to spend all of your money on Marvin Harrison Jr. when you can spend your money on a tackle, a Brian Murphy, and a 3rd round pick where you can get a starting corner, probably. Quarterback. That's the way I see it going.
If the Patriots do trade back, I like go check out Mock Draft 3.0. I like obviously I'm in love with the concept of maybe them trading backwards, picking whoever they're going to pick, picking up extra assets. So maybe a wide receiver, tackle, whatever, BPA for the Patriots, because God knows they need everything under the sun. But also getting back into the first to pick a Michael Penix, a Bo Nix, whoever they favor the most out of the handful of quarterbacks that are going to be available at the end of the first round. My pick would be the Michael Penix at the end of the first for the Patriots specifically. So if you are sticking and picking, probably going to be a quarterback, probably going to be a Jaden Daniels unless he goes second. Then you're going with Drake May, and you should run that card in as fast as you can. This all just comes down to if the Patriots are in love with one of the quarterbacks. It's now been on the rumor mill for like 3 weeks in a row with a couple of the pages that I follow, specifically Bold Take Scouting on Instagram. If you go check them out, it's been on the rumor mill for like 3 weeks in a row, man. It's just, quote, the Patriots will only pick a quarterback if they are in love with one. And nobody knows if they are in love with them. There's not even rumors coming out if they are or not. So it's really hard to tell with the Patriots. I would sell this one personally. But moving on to the wide receivers, because we already talked about Marvin Harrison Jr., let's follow a different scenario. Are you buying or selling the fact that Malik Nabers being the number 1 receiver off the board?
Selling
hard. Not even a thought. Yeah, for you and me, especially you and I, sorry. Especially we have Malik Neighbors as our wide receiver 3. Um, I like Malik. I do. I think those 1, 2, 3 guys, you can kind of shuffle them up, except one. Those 2 and 3 guys, you can shuffle them back and forth a little bit. I don't see anybody really actually believing, oh, yeah, like Malik is the guy. Like that's going to be your number one. I think what's going to come down to is what it's going to come down to for the picks 2 and 3 for wide receiver 2 and 3, I should say. It's going to come down to scheme fit. What fits a little bit better to me for like the Giants coming on the clock. I think they would be better fit with like a Rome, a Dunze. They got a lot of speed already on that team with Wandell Robinson and Jalen Hyatt switching it up with a timing based, a guy who works really well in a timing based offense like Rome would be better for the Giants than a Malik Neighbors. A Malik Neighbors would be really good for the Titans if they want to go ahead and take a wide receiver. But I don't buy this one either.
This is where we're going to find out on if these NFL teams did their entire complete homework. The 49ers never scouted or spent any time looking at Patrick Mahomes. They never did because they were convinced they were getting Kirk Cousins at the end of the season, right? They didn't even do their job. So if I'm the Vikings and you're the Broncos and you and me have spent hours upon hours upon hours with JJ McCarthy, and then you beat me, and now Drake May is sitting there. Did I do my homework on Drake May? Did I do enough homework to trade up? Let's assume you hop up to the Patriots pick and you take JJ. Did I do enough? This is the only scenario where I can see Neighbors going 1 because I can see Joe Alt going 5 to the Chargers. We went quarterback, and the Chargers are like, nope, we need the tackle. We need Joe Alt. Joe Alt was number 1. And now the Giants are on the clock. And the Giants are like, shit, Marvin Harrison is there, but we love Malik Neighbors. We've done all our research on Neighbors. We've done everything we need to do on Neighbors. You know what? We're just going to go with Neighbors. And then he's the first wide receiver off the board because they did all their homework on him. If the team has done their job and they've scouted everybody the way they should, because when you're sitting in the top 6, top 7, top 15 of the draft, shit goes crazy, especially when the Raiders are involved with a mock draft of them taking Bo Nix I saw today. You have to do your research on all the players because you can't be sitting there on a scramble drill, Jacob. If you're sitting there with your boy Sean Payton, you can't say, well, shit, Drake May's still available. Did we just trade up to 4 and take him? Drake May's available. Well, I don't know, Sean. We didn't do our research. We've been doing our research on JJ. JJ was the guy, but the Minnesota Vikings beat us. Yeah. Do you just take Drake May? Hopefully these teams have done their research because we hear stories about this every year where they just didn't scout the guy. Because if we could go back to 2017, 49ers take Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Scout the guys.
Already mentioned, and we're going to run right into it. Are you buying or are you selling Bo Nix or Michael Penix going in the first round?
Either of them in the first round?
Either one of them in the first round.
I'm selling that because I think that Michael Penix makes a lot of sense to a couple of teams that have a high second round pick.
Okay.
And I just don't know if you need to. I'm a believer in Michael Penix. So if you think the guy can be a franchise QB, I don't think it matters. Bo Nix at 13 is wild to me, but I don't know.
I don't think that you go trade up.
Chances are one of those guys go in the first round. Chances are.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it because I don't think that you go and you trade up into the first round to jump somebody else, right? One of those high second round picks. I mean, you could go ahead and pick any of the lower level teams that potentially need a quarterback that is going to trade up, hence maybe the Patriots, which again, mock draft 3.0 had that happening. I didn't have the Patriots trading up and taking Michael Penix because they're jumping other teams to go grab him. I have them taking Michael Penix in the first round for that 5th round option specifically, or the 5th year option specifically. That's the only reason that we're going into it and why we're doing it is to have that 5th year. I don't care about the rest of it. Just like you said, if you're doing your homework on a guy and you really like him, you're going to trade up and you're going to go get that guy. And again, if you believe in him that much, you're going to want that 5th year, guaranteed. That's why you go in the first round, back into the first round. I saw Bo Nix. I've been seeing 3 weeks in a row these people doing these mock drafts. I've seen 3 weeks in a row now. The Broncos not trading up, them sticking at 12 and picking Bo Nix. 3 weeks in a row, 3 Mondays in a row has been Bo Nix, 12th overall to the Denver Broncos. So I don't buy that one, but I do buy Bo Nix or Michael Penix going in the first round.
Yeah, if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you think that he's the answer and you can drop from 16 down to 28, you know what I mean? Something like that, and you can take him, then the 5th year option does make a ton of sense. I'm trying to see where
Seattle would be
going.
pretty good too, because you look at a lot of the needs that they have, guard and center, right? That interior offensive line, you'd be like, oh, well, JPJ, maybe Troy Fautanu, because he could potentially play guard. Or their owner doesn't invest money into the interior offensive line, and they don't spend high draft picks on it either. Why would they change it now all of a sudden? It's not like we're talking about JPJ as this generational center or guard, or we're not talking about it like that. So a trade down for Seattle really does make sense. Who did they get at quarterback? Didn't they get someone at quarterback in free agency? Didn't they go get somebody?
The Seahawks?
Yeah, didn't Seattle?
Maybe. I mean, Geno's still the starter, so I don't think it matters.
Yeah, he's a starter. Didn't he have a restructure on top of that to maybe free up money in the later part of his contract? So they're pretty much saying like Geno might not be the starter, not now, but in the very near future, we don't see Geno as the starter anymore. And you've already brought it up in the past how you don't think someone could be a starter, like that starting caliber guy like Geno is, if they can't beat their division rivals, like beating the Niners. You just can't do it. So, no, it looks like they did. I know they lost Drew Lock, but
these mock drafts are wild, man.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever see, there's a guy, his name's Bro Schmo on YouTube. He does mock the mocks, and he goes through a bunch of like every major mock draft that comes out. He goes through like every pick, and some are pretty crazy. I have one more buy or sell, Drew. So last one, buying or selling that there will be no running backs taken in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
Oh, that's a sell. There's going to be the running backs will go.
Do you think that it's going to be like a wait and see game where we're kind of waiting to see like exactly teams are waiting to see who takes that first running back? And as soon as that first running back flies off the board, there's going to be a run at the running back position because everyone's going to go, shit, the guy that we maybe were looking for and maybe the next round isn't going to be there now because all of a sudden everyone's taking these running backs and the run's going to start now. Do you think it's going to be something like that? Or it's going to be like a tail end? Oh, I just picked this guy off, pick 60, just picked up Trey Benson, Jonathan Brooks, Blake Corum, just picked them up real quick. You think it's going to be something like that?
I just don't. To me, I think those two guys are really, really talented, and I don't think that they're going to last till pick 87. So I think the Cowboys have to take one of them. Nothing else makes sense to me right now with the Cowboys not taking a running back. And what's funny is my favorite out of all 4 of them is the kid from Hyatt. He's my favorite out of all 4, which that's not true. I love Blake Corum, but these are good players, man. Like I know they're not top 5 picks or whatever, but I just think that that's like the way that Jalen Wright, not Hyatt, just the way the NFL is going. I mean, don't you think that you're going to get Trey Benson with your 3rd round pick?
Maybe. I don't know.
NFL teams are stupid, man. There's no way. There's no way he lasts till your 3rd round. Pick 88 or 89, wherever you're at.
Maybe.
If you can pick him with your 3rd round pick, then you have a massive problem because he's not a day 1 starter if he goes in the 3rd round.
Yeah, but running backs, as are a lot of these, certain positions are just, it's like a team fit, right? How, are they going to go with a power run system? Are they better in the zone run system? Like, what are they better in? Is kind of the question. So I think it's just scheme fit. So if Trey doesn't fit a specific team with a specific scheme, then I think he might fall a little bit. But one of these guys will, right? Whether it's a Jalen Wright, Blake Corum, Jonathan Brooks is a potential faller because of the ACL stuff, right? Tearing his shit up at the end of the season, or in the middle of the season. So it just, someone's is gonna potentially fall down the board a little bit at the very least. A third round pick could be very feasible. Do I think I'm going to get Trey Benson? Unfortunately, probably not at that point. But I also have a hard time looking at the second round of the draft. And, I've sent you a couple of the Cowboy stuff that I've done, and I'll simulate some of the PFF stuff of care for positional value all the way down, all the way up, moving stuff around, randomness. And it's just every time I come down to the second round and the pick comes up, I'm like, God, dude, there's so much value at this second round pick that I can't go anywhere else. Like I can't go running back. I just don't see, we need it. But some of the other players that are there are just too good to pass up. But also Jerry's one of the guys who just takes a guy because we need him, not because of a guy that's there. Taking Tyler Smith, I really wanted Jermaine Johnson. We needed edge rusher at that point, so obviously Tyler Smith has worked out pretty well, but I wanted Jermaine Johnson because he was like my second edge rusher in that class, and I wanted him. So, and he was falling. Yeah, so that's where we sit with the running backs. But I think we should I think our last mock draft should be a two-round mock draft. Obviously, we're going to have to cut out pretty much everything else in the show, and it's going to be only a mock draft pretty much. But it being right before the draft, that's the only thing people are going to give a shit about. So,
you mean you don't want to have a 30-minute segment about Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Panthers?
No, probably not.
There you go, guys. That's the Jadeveon Clowney segment right there.
Right. All right. Before we move on to the NBA stuff, any final thoughts about the NFL segment?
Quiet week, except for some tweets from the 49ers wide receiver. And I think that's pretty standard practice with NFL negotiating these days.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bo Nix has cracked the first round in multiple mocks now. So that makes me believe that, just for everybody that's listening, when I tell you, like, I think Xavier Worthy is going here, and then you comment, "Oh, you're stupid, Xavier Worthy over this person." I'm not necessarily disagreeing on positional value there. I'm just telling you that the people that I pay attention to, I'm not listening. Like, I don't turn on, talk radio and listen to your local idiot that's filling up the radio waves from 3 to 6. Like, I'm paying attention to the people that do this for a living. Like, I listen to podcasts that people that scout for a living, and this is what they're reporting. So this is why I think it's going to happen. Yep. When everybody's screaming that this is going to happen, and then it happens, and then people are like, well, it's like, well, duh. Like, Matt Miller, his entire mock draft is posted by ESPN. He knows what the hell he's talking about. And he thinks that 4 quarterbacks are going to the top 4. He's got Bo Nix going to 13. He didn't just pull that out of his ass. This isn't just Jacob and Drew simulate PFF and then we pick, oh, that makes sense. Let's go there. Like, that's not how this. A lot of people are reporting this. There's a ton of smoke around it. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's. I think Daniel Jeremiah is the one that has the great quote where he says, "I do mock drafts with my ears and I do big boards with my eyes." So I think that's what most people do who do this regularly. And they do it because they have a podcast or YouTube channel or whatever. That's how I think most do it. I know that's how we do it as well.
And people like Daniel Jeremiah and I love Daniel Jeremiah, by the way. People like Daniel Jeremiah and people like Matt Miller, they are popular because they nail this shit. They're popular because they put out a mock draft and it's really close to what happens in real life. If I put out a mock draft with the Cowboys taking a punter in the first round, everybody's going to not listen to me anymore because I'm a fucking clown. Like they, now if the
We lost you again, Drew. You cut out.
Raiders. Yeah, I get a little note that it's trying to reconnect, so I just stopped my rant. I have really expensive Wi-Fi, by the way. I don't know what's going on here.
It only happened really like once or twice.
I'll just hardwire in next week.
Yeah, I'll just do that. Real quick, we have a comment from 30 minutes ago. It says, if the Pats trade down and take Penix Jr., everyone in the front office should be shot into the sun. I don't think that he's realizing from the TikTok that they're trading up to go get Penix. They're not trading back and getting Penix. Okay, whatever. I mean, they already got Marvin Harrison. I think you missed that part, brother. Okay.
Well, I mean, I had the Chargers trading back twice last week. You know what I mean? Like at that point, if you trade back twice, collect up all those picks that you're going to get, it doesn't matter who you pick at that point if you believe in the guy. Yep. And frankly, if you believe in the guy, go get the guy. Although I don't know how much research the New England Patriots are doing on Michael Penix at the moment. But if you believe in the guy, go get the guy.
Yeah.
But I will say this. I've been on Jaden Daniels going number 2 for like 4 weeks before Jacob was on it. So I'm going to do a victory parade if that happens. Just putting that out there.
I'm not on that, by the way. So
I know you messed up our mock last week with at pick number 3. I'm like, what the hell? We're off the screws already. Like, all right, here we go. Buckle up.
Oh, but it was fun. And that's what it is. Oh, nice. Draymond ejected 4 minutes in. Beautiful.
I love Draymond sucking.
2 quick technicals lead to Draymond being thrown out versus the Magic. Oh, that's awesome. All right, man. Dude, that's perfect.
I hope so much that they fall out of the play-in and the Rockets make it in.
Mm-hmm. Especially because of the comments, but let's not jump into that right now. Let's immediately jump into the Suns. Okay, Drew, what is the solutions for the Suns climbing up the Western Conference for these final 10 games that they have? They have another game here in about 2.5 hours at 7:00, I believe, against the Nuggets. What do they do to climb the Western Conference, and how do you make a good playoff showing? And it might not be the Nuggets; it might be someone else. I know they're playing tonight.
They play the Nuggets, and then they play the Thunder, and then they play the Pelicans, and then they play the Cavs, Timberwolves, Pelicans, Clippers, Kings, Timberwolves. Good fucking luck. That is
the gauntlet, bro.
The Kings have a nasty remaining schedule, but I think the Kings at least have they have a Jazz in there somewhere, and I think they also have like a Trailblazers maybe in there. That's nasty. You know what? The answer is this, man. The West this year is just incredibly talented. Yeah. The Kings had the same record they have right now, and they locked up the number 3 seed last year pretty easily. And now right now the Kings could be anywhere from like 5th to 8th with every game that's played. It's just a roller coaster. Yeah. Of course, they came out and shit the bed last night against the Mavericks, but I want to say that the Suns just need to lock in. Like Kevin Durant just needs to lock in. Devin Booker just needs to lock in. But that team just may not be talented enough this year. It just, when you have so many teams in the West that have a dual superstar tandem, the Clippers are so really good talent-wise, and they're just not putting it together. The Suns are kind of the same way. The Nuggets have had stinkers all year. And then you got these guys at the top. You got the Shy and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think it's just going to be a bloodbath. I don't know if the Suns can lock in at this point with only they're 42-30. Yeah, 10 games left, man. It's too late. I think the Suns have shown who they are, and they have lost some stinkers. Yeah. The Kings. There's a couple teams in the West right now. The Kings, if they had just beat the Heat, had a game against the Kings 3 weeks ago where 5 of their players got suspended because of a brawl, and we should have rolled the ball out onto the court and won that game. The Suns have had a ton of games like this. Who just lost? Was it the Suns? The Suns lost to the Spurs the other night, and Wemby didn't even play. That's just,
Yep.
if you want to be taken seriously in the playoffs, that's completely unacceptable. You can't lose to Devin Vassell and the Spurs.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
And I like the
Sochan and
Spurs. Yeah, it can't happen. Those are two quality players, man, and you would be happy to have them. But you can't, like, this Kevin Durant, bro. Like, this is your legacy, man. This is kind of what irritates the piss out of me about this whole thing. Like Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Steph Curry's legacy, they're like dying in front of our eyes. And the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder are pissing on the ashes. It's just crazy. Like,
yep. So when we're looking at the main issues for the Suns, one, quality defenders. They lack them, right? You're already worried about your quality defenders when you have guys like Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and an aging Kevin Durant trying to play defense. It's not a great recipe for success. Kevin Durant's always been a okay defender, but he's aging now at the point where he's kind of starting to slip pretty significantly on the defensive side. And ball handlers, right? You're looking at a bunch of guys who have been ISO ball guys their entire careers and now asked to play as team 2014 Spurs, and it's not going to work, right? Booker is their best playmaker by a mile, and his instincts specifically are too slow to react to make the certain plays that he should be making now. But he's not a point guard, he's a shooting guard. Okay, he looks to ISO, he wants to be Kobe. Devin Booker's Devin Booker. We know exactly who he is. He can drop 70, right? He can drop 60. He's a scorer, but so is Bradley Beal. So is Kevin Durant. And they do this through ISO ball. They do this through design plays for them, not pass it around, be patient, and see what comes open for your point guard to really facilitate, or any of your other playmakers to facilitate the field. It just doesn't happen for them, right? That, and then turnovers, bro. Oh my God. The turnovers are so bad. Kevin Durant's top 10. You have Devin Booker and you have Nurkic, who are top 40. Now, Kevin Durant and Booker, understandable, right? I mean, they have the ball in their hands a lot. Their usage is high, but Nurkic being in the top 40 with the low usage that he has is pretty bad. They play small ball and they're unathletic when they're playing the small ball. So the defense is just not there. The turnovers are pretty piss poor. It's rough. It's really rough for this team. And again, 72 games in, they're going to have a really hard time turning this around, getting disciplined with 10 games left, all of a sudden running into the potential play-in. It's hard, dude. It's just,
and it's not even fun to watch.
West. No, it's not. It's really not. It's bad at this point. So
if I told you, hey, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are on TV Thursday night, you're like, oh, I got to tune into that. And then you tune into it. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't want to watch this. Like, this is no good. Same thing with the Clippers. It's not fun to watch. And listen, I'm blessed right now. I'm blessed right now because when the Kings are on, it's beautiful basketball, right?
Yeah.
And you're sitting over there on the throne over there, like your team's on easy street for the next 10 games. They could lose the next 10 games and it wouldn't matter. But just some of these teams, watching them play basketball is just rough. It's just like, what are we doing here? What's the offensive identity? It's like, I feel like they go down the court and they have it pre-planned. Okay, this is your possession, Booker. This is your possession, Durant. All right, Bradley Beal, you get one every 5 possessions. And it's just like, all right, go do what you do. And that's what they rely on. It's the same thing with Clippers. It's just not enjoyable to watch to me.
I think when you look at again, the ball handlers, and the lack of defenses and the turnovers is part of the ball handler stuff a little bit. They're not being able to execute the coach's plays to the degree that it should be. A lot of people are calling for the coach's head. Hey, fire him. It's not going to work. But then he just got hired this year, dude. And you're going to go and shift into these guys just can't play together. That's all it is. At the end of the day, this experiment, another one of Kevin Durant's big threes isn't going to work because everyone's a goddamn primary ball handler. Kevin, it doesn't work, bro. It just doesn't. Get over it. Stop bringing in all these primary ball handler guys. Cool, it looks great. Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant look super awesome on paper until you realize there's no one to fucking handle the ball to them. Same thing. You know, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant look great on paper until you realize that Nurkic is your fucking center. You're like, it doesn't work. We're playing small ball, and you guys are, and he's fucking unathletic. Like, what do we do? Who's our backup center? They have
a side note to that.
Huge issues at center, and they never addressed it.
A side note to that is the Mavs are kind of figuring it out right now with the Kyrie Luka thing, which is super interesting that they're making that work. And it's kind of frustrating because the Kings are in the mix of it. So I'm like really irritated about the Mavs playing well and everything. And I think it would be fun someday to become a, like, on a bigger level, like, podcaster or something, to where I couldn't be super 49er Stanish or super King Stanish, because it's like what the Packers almost did last year in the playoffs was fucking incredible. What the Lions almost did in the playoffs was incredible, and I couldn't enjoy any of it because I just wanted the Niners to win the Super Bowl. It's the same thing, like the Mavericks figuring it out, the Oklahoma City Thunder, how good they are this year, how young they are. The Minnesota Timberwolves are like the basement dwellers. They've been trashed for 107 years. And now they were the number 1 seed before, Karl-Anthony Towns got hurt. All of this is hella compelling, and I just want to enjoy it. So it's like, all right, Kings, go back to being sucky so I can enjoy the playoffs for a second, because right now it's all stress and anxiety. So I don't think the Suns or the Clippers are a major threat in the West. I definitely don't think they're a threat to go to the finals, and even if they made it, I don't think they'd be a threat for. Boston looks like they're on cruise control, and I know you don't want to hear that, but it looks like they're just going to be sitting in the playoffs. They're going to be sitting in the finals, and it probably won't, unless the Nuggets figure it out really, really quickly. There's a lot of question marks surrounding the West right now.
Yeah, definitely a lot of competition. The West on playoff side is going to be fun to cover as it goes along. Now, moving on to we're going to go to the East a little bit, and then we're going to jump over to the West at the very end and go back and forth on this next one. So,
keep going. I'm with you.
What are the expectations for Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat this season? Because I think that a lot of Miami Heat fans and NBA fans in general have kind of been waiting and expecting for the Heat to blow up a little bit, and they're waiting for that time where, like, oh, when's Jimmy gonna do his thing? When is he actually gonna blow up? Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're excited, it's gonna happen, and we just haven't got to that point. And with this team being extremely unhealthy, everyone's out, right? Your main guys are out. They're always out. Jimmy Butler has been out for personal reasons. He was out for a month with an ankle injury. You have Bam. He was hurt. He was out for a month. Tyler Hero, he was in and out. Jaquez has been in and out. You got guys who are huge contributors, your main dudes who've been in and out or out for an entire stretch of time. So you're looking at a team that's really not that healthy. And they're really looking to get healthy at the very end of the season. What are the expectations for them going into the potential play-in at this point? Are they going to make another Cinderella run, or we're going to see them kind of collapse in on themselves?
Listen, I'm going to make it very simple for you. Make it simple for you and all the Miami Heat fans that listen to this podcast. Relax. Okay? 4 more days. Get through 4 more days. Do you know what happens in 4 more days? It's April. Jimmy Butler locked in. He's going to do what he does every year. I ain't worried about the play-in. They'll come out. Pacers might fall out. Who knows? I got my eyes on it. I'm intrigued. Jimmy Butler's coming to play Jimmy Butler basketball. Don't you worry about that. And God forbid he shows up as the 8th seed. God forbid. I know you don't want it. I know you don't want it.
I don't. I was looking at the standings very recently. Let me pull it back up. I was looking at the NBA playoff standings if it ended today. And I was looking at some of the play-in stuff, and I was just staring at it, and I'm like, dude, I really don't want to play against Miami. Like, not even a little bit. Like, I would really love for them just to win their game against, the 76ers, if that's how it drops out, and just go play the Bucks, and I'm okay with that. I actually think they match up with the Bucks pretty well. Spoelstra is a great coach who ends up locking Giannis down every single time they play him in a series. So I think that's bad for the Bucks, but I don't want them to lose in that first game, because that means they have a chance to play against whoever's the 9 and 10 winner. whether that's the Hawks or the Bulls, and then they probably beat them, and then they come play us. And I want that shit. You keep that shit.
How much pressure is there on Embiid to get his ass back?
Probably a lot.
Because you can't get bounced in the play-in, bro. That would be terrible. For the Sixers are way too talented to get bounced in the playoffs. In the play-in, even without him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Somebody's got to. Everybody's talking about Tyrese and all this crap, and just got a lot of talent on that team. I watched them play against the Kings the other night, and we just demolished them. I was like, wow, this is depressing.
It's crazy too, because it's like you said, it's a talented team. You look at the roster, you go down, and you're like, there's some guys here, solid contributors. Tyrese Maxey stepping up in a huge way this year.
I would take him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but God, dude, without Embiid, I mean, we're talking about a team that's second seed, third seed, all the way down to eighth very quickly. I mean, they can't buy a win. Nope. Jerry Jones could buy that team, and he couldn't buy a win. I mean, that's how bad it's been, dude. It's been pretty piss poor. So the 76ers are one of those teams where I really like Tyrese, I do, but I'm starting to question how good Tyrese has been because of Embiid dropping out. So how much did he contribute to the success of Tyrese, taking the pressure off of him? Because there was conversations like, oh, could Tyrese be a one?
Could you imagine
it away a little bit?
You imagine a world where the 76ers didn't sign any free agents or make any big trades? I mean, that's what would happen if Jerry Jones bought him. So that would be weird because, all they do is sign players and make big trades. So that would be strange.
Yeah. And then that's them going all in though, and then not paying Embiid.
Spencer Dinwiddie on the buyout market. And by the way, Embiid, your knee is a little questionable. So we're just not going to pay you.
Yep. That's Jerry Jones 76ers, dude. Yeah, so I think with Jimmy, the expectations is they're large, right? You matched up pretty well in the NBA Finals last season against the Nuggets, who were the powerhouse. They're not the super team, but they're the powerhouse of the league, and beating everybody up last year. And it was inevitable, but you matched up decently well with you having unhealthy guys down the stretch, right? You're relying on contributions from Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, when you had Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo out in the postseason. So huge expectations for a healthy team. I think you mitigate them a little bit if you are very unhealthy. So we'll see what Jimmy does this year, if he turns into Hemi buckets, and I don't want it to happen because
I will tell you,
they're terrified.
They got the Raptors twice. They got the Hawks. They got the Rockets. They got the 76ers, and they have the Trailblazers and the Wizards. So, I mean, there's probably, 6 or 7, 8 wins right there if they do what they need to do. So the Warriors loss the other night was not good. Letting Klay Thompson have a good game at this point, it's tough to get a Klay Thompson good game. So
yeah.
Which I love, by the way. I'm praying on the downfall of the Warriors.
Looking at the East and the West, Drew, who's more legit, the 4th seed or the 5th seed? We're looking at the East and the West. So 4th seed and the 5th seed currently right now as of Thursday, March 27th at 4:53 p.m. The 4th seed on the West is the Clippers, and the 5th seed in the West is the Pelicans. Who do we believe in more? Who's more legit? The Pelicans with the limited amount of playoff success, or the Clippers with the questions around health and the inconsistent play that we've seen in the past month? Who's more?
Pelicans. Pelicans are way more legit. Pelicans are a threat.
Yeah.
Their Pelicans are a serious threat in the West right now. Brandon Ingram, if you're unfamiliar with him because he's been on the Pelicans, I promise you, you're gonna be surprised this year seeing him in the playoffs. Zion is Zion. I'm not a big Zion guy. Full stop on that. I'm not a big Zion guy. CJ McCollum, love him. That is a talented ass team. They play great defense. They're very exciting. Completely opposite of the Suns and the Clippers. You turn on a Pelicans game and you're gonna be entertained. They're legit. I don't even think it's really close. I have no faith in Paul George. I have no faith in Russell Westbrook. I have no faith in Russell Westbrook. I have no faith in, I'm thinking of Kawhi Leonard. I have no faith in any of those guys to show up at this point. Kawhi, Kawhi, man, I hate Kawhi Leonard. I'll put that out on the podcast. The way he left the Spurs, the way he was in Toronto, and now his whole camp and how he dictates when he's going to play and all. I hate everything about it. So congratulations, you got a lot of money. You want to chip, good for you, whatever. The Pelicans, very exciting team to watch, and they got legit players that can drop 30 in your like. Brandon Ingram can catch fire, and when he catches fire, you cannot guard him. He will put you in the post. He will kill you from mid-range. He'll make his jumpers. CJ McCollum can go nuclear. And on the best day, when Zion's at his best day, you know, he's pretty bowling ball unstoppable down there. And the thing about it is when the one thing to keep your eyes on with the Pelicans is the physicality ramps up in the playoffs, but CJ McCollum's been there. Like, he knows what that's all about. Brandon Ingram is a really skilled cerebral player. It just depends if Zion can play with the physicality. So yeah, I mean, the Pelicans are legit. I think there's some more pretenders at the top of the conference, to be honest with you, before the Pelicans are pretenders. So yeah,
for sure, dude.
Sorry, Clippers fans. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with me on this one, except for Clippers fans.
I mean, honestly, you look at the roster and it's not just names, but it's maybe names you're unfamiliar with who are first team all defense type guys. I mean, we're looking at Zion, who's playing incredibly well since the All-Star break. CJ McCollum, who's leading the league in 3-point percentage, obviously with a certain minimum amount of 3-pointers scored. You have Herb Jones. That's he's like a first team all pro or all defensive guy this year. Dyson Daniels, Brandon Ingram, Jose Alvarado, Jonas Valanciunas, Larry Nance Jr. plays a good, solid role. Trey Murphy is a great wing off of the bench. And, you could just keep going a little bit further down there. But we're talking about a team that's really put it together. And if you want to see more about the Pelicans, just click on last week. We talk about the Nuggets and the Pelicans in a combo video. Go check it out. Singing the Pelicans' high praises even further, obviously, this week than last week. But it just continues on. Huge believer in the Pelicans. I'm going to keep a very close eye on them, and we're going to have a lot of coverage throughout the playoffs, obviously for the NBA, but I really want them to at least win a series. And if it's against the Clippers, I think I want to bookend it almost at that point, because obviously we'll have predictions. Now, on the East side, we have the Knicks and the Magic. Who's more legit, the Knicks or the Magic right now?
That's such a tough one.
This is a harder one for sure.
You know why this is tough? Because I think the answer is probably pretty obvious, but I love what the Magic are doing this year. I love that they get contributions from all the pieces. I love that they, Banchero, and the way their young guys are stepping up and playing is super, super awesome. They've had some really big wins this year. But man, Jalen Brunson, I just think is just next level amazing. Like the physicality he brings to his play. Dante lighting it up recently. He had a career night the other. Did you lose me?
No, you're good.
Okay. Dante DiVincenzo had a career night the other night. I think the Knicks. I think New York is screaming because, the Brooklyn Nets are useless. I think New York is screaming for some success in the playoffs, and I think the Knicks are poised to do that. But
yeah,
to be honest with you, if we're setting it up, if we're talking about these, the 4th and 5th is always supposed to be a really good playoff matchup. Hence, it's literally the 2 seeds closest to each other. I'm not all that excited. And again, we won't do a prediction. I don't think a Pelicans Clippers series is all that competitive, but the Knicks versus Magic, I just think at the end of the day, Brunson and his physicality would win out in that series. But I wouldn't be disappointed either way. I love when the new teams burst on the scene, especially the Magic. They've done it the right way through building their team the right way. It's just, and again, I know this doesn't factor in on who the best teams are and who may win every year, but enjoyable basketball. Turn the Magic on. It's fun to watch. You turn the Knicks on. Absolutely. It's fun to watch. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me say this. If OG Anunoby is playing, it's the Knicks. If he's not playing, I say it's the Magic. The Magic.
And you're probably correct.
And dude, that Knicks team is so good with him on the court. It's so
Yep.
good. He's such that trade. That's an A+ trade for New York in the short amount of time that we've seen him on the court with everybody else. I really, just like you said, I like how Orlando's been building the team. I think their coach has a good consideration for coach of the year. He's not going to win it, obviously. But I think there's some consideration there, some nomination that could be thrown out there for the coach of the Magic, because of the way that everything's being thrown together. The defense that's being played, they're like the number one defense in the league since All-Star break. Incredibly competitive. I'm a huge Jalen Suggs guy. I think he brings a certain type of energy that I think Draymond wish he could be. He's a less violent Draymond. He brings the energy and the passion to that organization and to the court. He's super frustrating because when you're watching him, like, God damn it, dude, he's getting in the players' heads. He's all up in everybody's faces. He's hyping up the crowd. He turns to the crowd after plays. He's hyping them up. He wants them involved. And that Orlando Magic organization and their fans are super passionate and they're super dedicated. I'd like to see them get a win in the playoffs, win a series, and especially against the Knicks because, fuck New York. But I love to see it happen because I think it'd be really exciting for the fans. And I don't know if you've ever been on the Orlando Magic TikTok before, but they're pretty hysterical. I don't know if you've ever heard their song before. Orlando Magic, Orlando Magic. You never heard their song before? No, you should go check it out. Every time they win, they'll put if it's like they'll put these random videos in this Orlando Magic theme song that they have, and they'll compilation everything, all this shit up together. It's so random. Their social media team is pretty awesome. So shout out. So I want, again, with OG, it's New York. Without OG, it's Orlando. Now, Drew, looking at the Kings and very specifically looking at Sabonis, I want to spotlight Sacramento star. How underrated has Domantas Sabonis been this season?
The Kings in arena team is pretty awesome. As you know, you were there for
absolutely
a beat down. The whole, Keegan Murray.
Yeah.
But they do this thing now every time Domantas scores where it's the dum 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 dum, and the whole crowd is Domantas Sabonis. They do it over and over. The man wasn't an all-star this year because the NBA coaches are haters, I guess. He just broke Kevin Love's double-double record. Yep. He leads the league in triple-doubles this year.
Yep.
He took a franchise that hadn't made the playoffs in 17 years, and in both of his full seasons, I'm trying to pull up odds real quick. There's not much more that can be said about him. He loves the game of basketball, something that I sometimes question our number one player on our team if he truly loves basketball. I question De'Aaron Fox sometimes on that. Domas loves the game of basketball. Yeah. And I came under some fire big time earlier this year. I got caught up in a tweet storm or an X storm, whatever you want to call it, because I said that he was overpaid. Yeah. Because he, if you go to his fourth quarter points, if you go to his clutch points, he's not always a huge threat. I was really frustrated last year in the playoffs that Kayvon Looney kind of basically made him be a non-factor in those playoffs, even though he had a broken thumb. And earlier this year when De'Aaron Fox was hurt, we lost a couple of must-win games now as we're getting down to the end of the season, and he was a non-factor in those. But ever since then, he has been a top 5 odds for NBA MVP this year. I just checked, and he's not on there currently, which is fine. But it's just these aren't 10-point, 10 rebound games. These are 24 points, 17 rebounds, 8 assists. And the games where he doesn't get a triple double, he's at 6, 7, 8 assists. You know what I mean? And if you watch him play, the dude's always getting smacked in the face. He's a white guy. If you don't know who Domantas Sabonis. So his arms are completely scratched to shit. His face is scratched to shit. He's a warrior. He's shooting a really high clip from 3-point land this year, but he's not taking enough of them. He needs to update, he needs to get going on that.
Yeah,
and his free throws have to be better. But since the All-Star break, I think his free throw percentage has been in the low 70s, which would be a career high mark. So it's just, what else can you say? When Kevin Love was doing what he was doing back in the day, it was when DeMarcus Cousins played for the Kings. Yeah. And I wanted DeMarcus Cousins to be better than Kevin Love. And every night, Kevin Love is a 2020 guy, and he's an undersized center. Domas is the same way. He's a power forward that plays center. He's not the biggest guy on the court at all times, but he's just a bully. Yeah. He is an absolute beast down there. And I honestly, after watching him for 2 full seasons, I don't know why. Now, we can get into debate whether we're paying him $50 million, $40 million is the best thing for team building going forward, especially if we can't bring Malik Monk back, because he's the heart and soul of the team right now. But I just don't know how you can watch him play and the physicality he plays with and the passion he plays with and not be a huge fan of him. It's weird to me outside of Warriors fans, because they're the cesspool of the NBA, realistically, how you cannot like him as a player.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if you saw some of the Malik stuff recently, where he was like, nobody called me in 2021, dude, and it hurt my feelings real bad, during free agency, and I think this season really means a lot, with DeMontis playing the way he does, and Malik Monk, and you guys have, Ellis is a great 3-and-D guy, and dude, I still do sometimes, every once in a while when I'm thinking about some basketball stuff, like clips in my mind is that we were sitting there and we watched randomly at the end of that fourth quarter, he had like that double clutch 3-pointer that he made. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like sometimes that shit pops in my mind. I did something very, very similar to that in 2K. Shout out, I'm a 2K player. I'll just send it to you because I clipped it. It's super dope. But you guys have like really good role players, and you have 2 stars, and you guys play at the same level you did last year. It's just like you said, this same record and the same level of play, got you, what was it, the 3rd seed, right? And now you're fighting to stay out of the play-in, and you're fighting to kind of climb the ranks and, stay a little bit higher in that seeding. So the West is super competitive at this point, with a lot of new faces and guys, young guys who really want to compete, young teams who are hungry. And I'm curious to see how you guys kind of play out the rest of your season. And hopefully Domas stays healthy, for this time around in the playoffs. And you guys are currently slated to play who in the playoffs?
Well, we're sitting in that playoff thing right now, that play-in thing.
Yeah.
And I think we're the 7th seed.
You are. Yes, you are. But I know you guys are all separated like really, really close. You guys are slated to play the Suns.
Yeah, we would get Phoenix first, right?
Yeah, and if you win, you would go play OKC.
Yeah. Don't love that. I would love to get Denver.
Yeah, if you lost and then won that game against whoever the Laker, Warrior, maybe Rockets would be, then you would go play Denver. So,
something I would like us to actually, for sake of content, I hope we fall to 9. I want to knock the Warriors out of the playoffs, and then I want to knock the Lakers out of the playoffs, and then I want to go to Denver and knock them out of the playoffs. That will make my heart happy. Listen.
Just eight birds with one stone.
Everything set aside here, this year, I would love to win a playoff series, and I'd be happy. Steph Curry went for 50 in Game 7 last year and beat us, and they didn't deserve to beat us, and the Lakers washed them out.
Yeah,
a playoff series this year would mean a lot for the development of the growth of this team, because we have to be able to bring Malik Monk back, and we got to be able to add pieces. We got some pretty good depth pieces that hurt. I know Trey Lyles and the way he played against that game in the Celtics, you're like, is that Trey Lyles? I'm like, yes, and he's a big part of the team, man. And Kevin Huerter's got a dislocated shoulder right now with some injury behind it, so that's really rough. And Sasha, the Greek League MVP, the team says he's one of the, De'Aaron Fox has said on record he's one of the best 3-point shooters he's ever seen. He had a grade 3 ankle sprain. He's been out almost 7 weeks, so he's trying to come back. There's a lot of depth pieces that are missing right now, but frankly, it starts and ends with our superstar. It starts and ends with Fox. I feel like when De'Aaron Fox comes out and sets the tempo, we win. And when he comes out and thinks that he's just going to throw his sneakers on the court, then we get washed like we did last night against the Mavericks. So it really comes down to him. He's the heart and soul of the team. And I just think he needs to be a little more consistent because he was the clutch player of the year last year. He's currently leading the league, the NBA this month in steals. His defense has been out of this world. And then, last night he has 18 points and doesn't play very well and we get smashed. So it really just comes down to, we're going to go as far as De'Aaron Fox feels like getting up for to take us. If he can get up for the games, and then we'll continue to win. And let's not forget he broke his hand in the playoffs last year also. He had a terrible 6th and 7th game in the series, but he had a broken hand. And when the team knows you're not going to shoot because you can't, what else are you going to do? So I would just, God, it would mean so much if we won a playoff series this year and got to the next round, because once you're in the next round of the playoffs, that's when things start getting funky. Anything can happen at that point. We might get a good, matchup. Matchups are really important.
Yep, absolutely.
That I think we have is
Drew, you cut out again. Oh, there we go. Back.
We're back. I said that we're going to beat everybody in the league except for the Celtics.
Yeah.
Well, that shit scarred me.
Well, another
half your players didn't even play. Game was over by the third quarter.
Very true. After a very exciting first quarter where it was really close.
And I couldn't even leave because I made your ass stay for the Cowboys 49ers game earlier this year. So I was like, I'm just going to sit here and suffer.
All right, man. Well, that's the pod. We'll be back next week with more NBA and NFL stuff. I think we'll probably kick off we'll do another mock draft most likely. We got to get you the evens next week around. And then we got to do a 2-round here pretty soon.
When's the draft?
The 26th of April, I believe. 25th, excuse me. 25th, 26th, 27th. It's a Thursday.
All right, so I got a month. To hire another manager so I can take a second day off during the week.
Yeah, because we're going to be live streaming on that day, on that 25th. Honestly, when it comes to that, I don't even think we should put a podcast out because by the time we say something on that Wednesday, it's going to go, or on that Tuesday, it's going to go to waste, I mean,
we just go live on YouTube for the draft.
Yep, and just have that posted and call it a day. I think that's perfect. All right, man. Any closing words before we sign off?
Nope, I don't got anything controversial to say this time, so we probably won't get any views on this one because Lord knows they only start clicking when I start ranting. So
hey, dude, we have like 11 views on the podcast itself on YouTube, which is very exciting because that never happens.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have for you guys this week. If you stuck around to the end, very much appreciate it. Go ahead and hit like, comment something if you got all the way through. Got to just comment something, anything. But besides that, you guys come back next week. Stay tuned for more fun and exciting NFL and NBA content. See ya.
Peace.